Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Radia. I'm from Group 4. So for today, I'm going to explain you about the short story. And the first part of the short story is a textual perspective. Okay. The stories from a textual perspective, it means that students are primarily considering stories structure or architectic form. The example, for the Cinderella story, the student have to know what the relationship between the Cinderella and Glasus, or the relationship between Cinderella and the fairy and the Asun. And the next is things to identify, classify story. For the identify or classify the story, we have four. The first is aspect. Aspect is what kind of the story. And the next is main character. Main character is mean that the example for in the Cinderella story, main character is Cinderella, prince, and also the stepmother and her stepsister. And the next is setting. Setting is where or when the story happened. The example for the Cinderella story in the mid of May at the setting of time. For the setting of place is a place and home. And the last is the conflict. Conflict is what is the problem or what is the kind of the problem in the story. Example for the Cinderella stories, when the Cinderella leave her shoes, her glass shoes in the place. And the next is story sharing activities. For the textual perspective, we can use the story sharing activities. Story sharing activities, it means that adolescents are consistently telling stories, begin to define inductively some of the characteristics. So it means that we story about we tell this our activities. The example is the Cinderella also was her clothes, also clean home, and so on. And the next is characteristic of well-told stories. For the we have to know the characteristics of well-told story. Many people can many stories, so we know about so how we know the characteristic of well-told story. Okay, the first is a storyteller focus on extraordinary events. It means that the storyteller focus on the event. For this storyteller, they have three kind of the storyteller. The first is by report of extraordinary events that by reports of a user. So the storyteller report the story by the user, like in the of the story. The second is often use concentrate details. It means that the storytellers concentrate to give the details of the story. And the next is tellers may effectively dramatize. For this kind of the storyteller focus on extraordinary event, is mean that the tellers or the storytellers give the dramatize when she or he told the story. And the next is to create anticipation. The first is the teller announcing the topic. What the kind of the topic of the story. The teller will told you the story. The second is by describing physical setting or place. It means that the teller want you to feel the story by yourself. And the next is by setting or skins announcing the topic. Teller establish the fact that certain norms are operating. It means that the teller want you to the things about the fact of the story. And the next is often this takes the form of describing skins or static. It means that the teller want you to think about what kind of the story this is what this about. And the last is using the pluperfect tense. And the next is storytellers build and resolve the conflict. So for this The tellers won't give you the conflict in the first time. The first is the create tension or conflict between what it happened and what could happen. It means, the example, the teller want you to know about the conflict of the Cinderella and the prince, what the conflict of the Cinderella and her stepmother. And the next is to create anticipation by dramatizing the unusualness of events. It means that the teller want you to make anticipation of what will happen in the next time in the story of Cinderella. And then is which side will win or lose in the conflict. So in the conflict, who is the winner or who is the lose in the conflict. And the last is students may note that the teller builds conflict between the character or other character force the community or other. So the teller want you to know about the what of the main character has another conflict with the another character or etc. And the next is storytellers include or exclude specific information. The first is may provide too much information and needless, irrelevant details and thereby oversimplifying the story. The teller have to know what the kind of the specific information they want to tell the listener. The next is details about setting, characters, and action to engage our attention and sense of narrative. So when we know about the story, when we think the information of the teller is so very important to us, we have to know about details about setting, about characters and action, and so on. The teller have to know about the details of the setting and character of the story. The next is storyteller signal important information. It means that the teller have to give the signal of the important information so the listener can catch the important information for the teller. The first is teller and writer signals the importance or significance of such information by using certain text feeders. It means that the teller gives the signal just like apostrophe and etc. And the next is certain words, phrase or actions being repeated also signals that importance to the narrative. And also this, when the teller want to tell this is the important information, they can to the repeated of the information more than one times. Okay, so certain information is particularly important of significant of understanding a text. So the listener can know what kind of the important things, important information the teller telling about. Okay, I think that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.